So hey, good morning YouTube. In my own boon tag, in today's video I'm going to talk about how the Philippines changed my view on America. There was a time where I was kind of pissed off at America, and I'm going to get to that in a minute. And this was way before I met my Filipino wife and knew anything about the Philippines. This started probably about over 15 years ago now. And maybe then a little more. We had quite a few little recessions here. And this is in this video is going to be about the blue collar worker, the trades. Whether, you work for Ford Motor Company, GM, you're a carpenter, commercial carpenter, residential carpenter, electrician, plumber, HVAC, water suppression. Feel free to leave the comments, anything that's happened to you guys. Today's video is going to be basically the residential carpentry, local 1, 2, 3, 4. How it started off and how it became. Now we really don't have, we still have the union, local 1, 2, 3, 4 residential, but there's barely any carpenters. Things have changed. So stay tuned. So welcome back, YouTube. Yeah, like I said, there was a time where I was pissed off at America. And by going to the Philippines and coming back, I got a different perspective on America now. Not everything's perfect, but it's a lot better. I'll get into a little bit later about the Philippines, how it kind of changed me. But prior to meeting my wife, I kind of hit a point where we went through quite a few recessions that affected the trades, some of the trades. If you were, like a plumber and you're off on your own and maybe you had 3, 4 trucks or 50 trucks and you're doing, homeowner repair jobs, somebody calls and their plumbing's messed up, those kind of businesses were still booming. And so what I had to do too was reinvent myself. And I'll get to that in a minute. I started off as a union carpenter working for a company, great company. But being young, I always had this desire to do my own thing. I learned everything I could. I learned how to build a house. The biggest thing was I learned how to run guys. I copied that guy. I seen what he did every day, how he handled situations, and I basically copied him. And like I said, I went off on my own. I was 23 years old. I got into the trade sometime when I was 18, a little bit after I graduated. And we were union. And over the years, there was a lot of my other buddies like, wow, you're buying this new car and you have this. What are you doing? A lot of people followed me, some of my friends and friends of friends, and they got into residential carpentry. And then you had the scabs. You had the carpenter crews out there that were non-union. And maybe they offered like a 401k or something. But, with the union, you had 3 different medical insurances, at least with ours. Michigan, Carpenter Local 1, 2, 3, 4. Back then it was like HAP, Alliance plan you could get. I think Blue Cross Blue Shield, and there was, I don't know if it was Select Care. I can't remember because I always used HAP insurance. And then you got a decent pension. You put so many years in. Back then I believe too it was only 5 years vested. Well, over the years, and due to these recessions and due to, you get a new president, they're allowing these illegals in. It started to become more foreign here. The guys I knew were retiring, and none of the normal, like the kids I grew up with, were getting into the trade. So what it does is it brings the prices down. I would especially when we hit a recession, I would reinvent myself. So we were doing remodeling. We would advertise. They had a website. We're doing decks, additions. And we were doing very well. But that too, there's a price to pay. You're dealing with homeowners. And there's some homeowners out there that no matter the most beautiful job you do, they're out to screw you. And you do. Maybe, I don't know if it was 2 out of every 20 jobs, 1 out of every 20 jobs, you'd have to lien, go through court, and that's a bunch of crap. Because some of the people you're dealing with are attorneys, so they don't have to pay. So you're paying for this attorney to get this, maybe it's 7 or 10 grand, 15 grand, could be 20,000 out of them, and you end up paying more money in attorney fees, and it's just not worth it. But that's not the problem. You know, the problem was this influx, the prices, something, you know, residential carpentry. Until this day, it's just finally, the prices are going up, but it's only on the big custom houses, because a lot of these foreigners, and I hate to say it, the Mexicans coming in, and I can speak on this because we got them working for us now. They don't speak good English and they do shitty work. They just keep saying, I don't understand, I don't understand. We got to tell them, look, fix like this. Some of them are good workers. Majority of them aren't. We're getting a lot of them. We got a fire, getting drunk on the job. You know, I didn't have that problem back in the day. The guys I learned from, you know, they came to work. They might have drank after work, but there's no drinking on the job. Well, the bottom line was none of the younger kids wanted to get into the trade, which I don't blame them. There was a certain time there, why get in? Because the prices went down. Inflation's going up, but the wage ain't going up. You know, back in 1993, well, let's say 1989, I remember, I started off at $7.50 an hour. Within 3 months, and I remember this clearly, I was up to $10.50. And then I think another 3 months later, I was up to 12 something. And then and I had to fight for it. It was about a year and a half in, 2 years, I was up to the going rate. It was like 18, a little under 18, because I was in the union. So they couldn't pay me the foreman's wage. Usually the foreman got $1 more. They got a truck, cell phone, obviously free gas. They're driving the tools in. That was good money back then. You know, I could actually save a lot. And because we used to do a lot of cash jobs on the weekend. Every Saturday and Sunday, we put up a house on the weekend. We'd run 2-3 crews, you know, 12, 15 guys, and just throw that house up. It was fun. Every 2 weeks, we got an envelope cash. I could put my paychecks in the bank and live off of that cash. It was sweet. So, you know, I started my own company, and over the years, insurance changed. The union, to this day, Carpenters Local 1, 2, 3, 4, there's only residential, there's 2 crews. Back in the day, there was hundreds of crews that were union. You know, I believed in putting the guys in the union so they could get a good pension. Well, I had 2 companies. You know, I always planned. I had a union company and I had a non-union company. And back then with residential, it didn't matter. I had 2 different entities, you know. I had Superb Tech Carpentry and J&J Tech Carpentry. J&J Tech was union and the other company was non-union. So with the non-union, I still gave them, they didn't get the pick. They had a decent medical. And then it started off 4% of their gross in November. So let's say if you started in January and November, I add up your gross and I give you 4%. And it capped off. Each year it went up 1%. I think I capped it off at like 6%. Right around sometime in 2000, we started to hit a recession, and especially 9/11. Somewhere around there, things started going a little bit goofy. There was a recession here, probably a good over 10 years. Granted, some houses, maybe the houses are going up, but they didn't want to pay nothing. They didn't want to pay nothing for them. And I'm like, I'm going to come out here and work. It was easier actually to go, and if you were to go to work for somebody, but why would you work for somebody when the wages just went down? You know, 10 years, you know, let's say some guys are making 20, 22 bucks an hour. 10 years later, you should be up maybe, you know, inflation's around 3%. I don't know, 4 now. Your wages should go up. The cost of living goes up. And it wasn't. And that's why I don't blame a lot of these kids, but I'm sure that wasn't the problem. You know, kids today, and even I see these older guys, well, younger than me, they're on their phones all the time. Whenever they can hide, they're on that phone. They're on watching videos and shorts, and a lot of it's the short videos. They just don't work like they used to. But I was getting pissed off. A lot of builders, they would come to me, and, you know, back when I started, a lot of these jobs I did, I had some builders that was a handshake. We didn't even have to write a contract. They were good as gold. Well, then they pass away and their sons start running, taking over this multi-million-dollar company. Then, of course, you got to get contracts, and they start screwing you. They start getting greedy. They get jealous, and it's usually when you tell them they got another sub, they're trying to tell you to get another crew, and I'm telling them, I'm not going to start another crew. I need another good foreman. That takes years. to train one, and then we got to get the guys, don't tell me how to run the business. And I built for a bunch of builders, so I might build 2 for this builder, and then go over here and I build 3 for this one. I didn't keep all my eggs in one basket. And it seemed like when you go to tell the builder, hey, I can't be back for like 3 months, they still owe you this money. They like to hold these 10% until rough inspection. Then they don't want to pay you. You're chasing your money down, you work hard, and it's just a big game. But, I got to learn that game. I always put enough money in for payroll. So I didn't have to go and beg and, I need my money or take out loans. Back then they had quite a few decent loans at a low interest rate, then you could just write that off. The backup payroll. A lot of the banks would offer you a good line of credit too, especially after 2 years in business and you're bringing in, quite a bit of money, consistently every month. But, I was pissed off at America. There was a time there where I was running. The economy picked up, and man, some days I would always have maybe 4 guys. There's a time maybe 5 guys. We could not get a new hire. Then guys get kind of complacent. I couldn't really leave if I wasn't there. They kind of take advantage. They don't want to work, but of course they want the big money. Insurances, that changed. I had to drop out of the union, my company, so that's when we had about a 12-year, I shut down the residential, and I got a partner on the east side. I would drive over an hour every day, great guy, a lot older than me, hard worker. And we might do a spec house, we might do an addition, we might put some decks on. We did a lot of remodeling, and it was nice, just me and him, and then we would bring a few guys when we needed more guys. Mindless, just great, besides the drive. Bringing in great money. But like I said, the drive started to get to me. I started to want to work a little bit closer here to where I lived. And there's a couple times I would fill in. We might not have a job, and I'd go help out another crew, and I'm like, wow, these good group of guys. But the pay wasn't that great. But then I would ask them, like, hey, you got medical insurance? If I came and worked here 6 months, instead of me paying out of pocket. A lot of these companies don't want to pay medical insurance, or they want you to work over 40 and just pay you straight time. Or there's even companies that would want to bank. You would work overtime, and they would want to have you bank your hours. So think about that. You're working all this overtime for a month. Let's say you get 8 hours in on a Saturday, every Saturday, times 4 Saturdays, 32 hours, and you're going to bank it for a rain day. I mean, come on. But they were pulling stuff like that. I remember when I had my business, we did do, the guys agreed. When we worked overtime, they wanted cash. And I forget the amount. It was obviously a lot more they made per an hour because they were getting sick of, Uncle Sam. But we did do that. And then that turned into a mess too. You get the wrong foreman. They're trying to say that they worked on a Saturday. I can't check to see if they're working every Saturday. And I ended up catching a guy one time. It snowed on a Friday night, and my father had worked for my company a little bit. He retired, and he was in that area, and he decided to pull into that site to see maybe I'm over there or who's working, and nobody worked. But they handed in hours saying that 5 guys worked, 7 hours. Take 5 guys times 7 hours times, that's a lot of cash going into that foreman's pocket. I caught him and I had to fire him. But with the Philippines, what it's really taught me was, man, that country's a poor country. And not to knock it, it just is. It is. And it's just common sense. People, the cost of living, of course it's cheap. Everything's cheap there. It's even cheap when you go to the rich area. I used to stay in some nice penthouses. I had some houses being built, and I didn't want to come home and cut the grass. I'm working. We're working a lot. And back in, 25 years ago, 1997. I was $1,700, $1,800 a month. Back then, that was a lot of money. Now, those places are probably at $3,500. I know places that are $5,000, $6,000 a month just for rent, and no pool. You don't even got a pool. It taught me to be more humble. It taught me man, I've seen a lot of stuff in the Philippines. You know, yeah, you got a lot of people that have nothing, and they're always happy. But you know what? That's their life. They're used to that. That's their way of living. They don't understand. And I mean, you got American greed. I'm sure obviously you got Filipino greed. It's just two different cultures, but it kind of wore on me, you know. And it was very tough for me in the beginning, seeing that, man, there's a lot of people over there that are hungry, you know, a lot of people. But, and I was buying big trays of eggs and rice for people, and my wife used to get on me. Why you do that? Nobody ever helped me. And I'm thinking, why are you being selfish? But now, if you guys watch some of those videos, some of you know why. You know, you can't save the world. And when time and need, when we needed help, they weren't there for us. Our relatives, they don't do nothing. Everybody just keeps their mouth shut. They don't want to get involved. It's just the way the culture is. But patience, I've learned, you know, what do they say? Patience is a virtue. It takes time. It takes a lot of time, you know. I mean, I didn't learn carpentry overnight. I'm not no relation expert, but I did cancel 2 here in America. And it came down to lying and cheating. You know, I don't tolerate that. You know, now with this other culture, you know, with Filipino women, I mean, the one good thing is they work. Majority of them work. Not all. My wife works her ass off. I told her to do some videos. You know, I'm on live video with her every day. She calls me, you know, what is it? I think it's maybe 8 o'clock right now, 7:30, 8 o'clock. And I always go on the weekends, I walk. I try to walk 3 to 5 miles. Then I'll go home and I'll eat. And then I'll wait a little bit, and then I'll do another workout. And I'll do some more cardio, because I like to eat. Like I said, the Philippines, you know, the convenience. You know, here in America, I forgot about how everything's convenient. It's so convenient. You know, just getting certain products. I mean, yeah, there was a time where it was tough getting, we run out of eggs. Big deal. You know, I eat so many eggs, I need a break from eggs. There's an egg shortage. There's this shortage. It happened, you know, maybe around COVID, but not like over there in Asia. I can only speak for the Philippines. You know, transportation, getting around here is, now where I live, there's no bus systems. Obviously down in the big cities and stuff, they got bus systems. I don't know how safe they are. I don't go down to any major cities anymore. I don't even go down to the Tiger game. It's just everything's kind of expensive. Parking, $45, $50 for parking. You know, a couple hot dogs, $10. I mean, if you want a beer, I mean, it's $12. You know, and that was years ago when I went to opening day. You know, just, there is a lot of great people in the Philippines. Well, at least when you come up to them and you talk, you know, friendly, because a lot of them, maybe they're expecting something. They're interested. Like I said, it's kind of like you're a movie star, but I just learned a lot, and I'm having a hard time explaining it. It's like they live so simple down there. And here, you know, I have so many neighbors and people that are living, they're living in debt. I think it's 80% of Americans are living in debt. They're living off their cards. They're living paycheck to paycheck just to have this big house, these brand new cars all the time. I mean, who needs a brand new car every 2 years? And then if you don't own a business, and especially, I know some people are driving far and they're leasing a car. Why would you want to lease a car? You know, some of these cars you get nowadays, you buy it, like I get a new truck. Man, that thing's still brand new looking, in 15 years, and it still runs good. I try to get 15 years out of stuff nowadays. You know, everything's so overrated here, but that's on them. You know, the Philippines taught me to be a little more simple. You know, I believe in a good pair of running shoes. I don't need none of this designer shit. You know, I still go by the Salvation Army. They got some good shirts in there. I mean, I'm just wearing them to work, and they're going to get ruined. I'm not going to buy a $30, you know, Under Armour shirt and then take it to the job site and it's ruined in one day. It gets caught on a gusset and it gets ripped. But, you know, there's still a lot of messed up stuff over here. But there's a lot more messed up stuff if you're living in Asia, especially if you got medical conditions, you know, getting medicines. And then there's a lot of medicine over there you get that's faked. It's fake. And I hate to say this, imagine if you need blood pressure medicine and they're getting it over there from Thailand. And listen, I got a lot of experience with Thailand. I used to order a lot of products from Thailand, and that could be another video, but I don't think I want to get myself in trouble. Did a lot of ordering from Thailand, Karachi, Pakistan, a lot of them places over there. And there's a lot of good products and there's a lot of fake, and you cannot tell. Man, you cannot tell it's fake unless you take it. But imagine getting blood pressure medicine, or you need blood thinner medicine or something, or some of you guys got some minor heart issues and you need certain stuff, and it's half the dose. It's there. I know. I ran into a few expats over there that are like, man, I'm feeling like shit. I'm taking this medicine and it's not working. You think it's fake? And I'm like, come on, you tell me. Obviously, That's why I don't even like for my testosterone replacement therapy. Here, my insurance covers it. It acknowledges it now because they know men that keep their testosterone at a good range, healthy range, live longer. I mean, you're still going to get sick, but your joints, your recovery, it's amazing. And I had a guy over there. He said he's been on it almost as long as me. Well, half. I've been on it almost 2 decades through a doctor. I got to go get blood work. They monitor me, make sure I'm not. Well, obviously, I'd have to go get it somewhere else to get my levels up more. Well, he was on it, and he paid like $300 for like a 10-week. It usually lasts them like 10 weeks. And over here, just out of pocket, we would only pay, if insurance didn't cover it, might be $150, but my insurance covers it. I don't pay anything. $300, and then come to find out it was fake. It's just the way it is. That's where I get my biggest thing, though, with the Philippines is the majority of the hospitals, the care you get, compared to America. I had a tooth in a beautiful, and I've talked about this, but it's still, I got to remember this. When you're in the province, I went to a dentist that was amazing. It was beautiful. You go inside and the flat screen TVs, I'm like, wow, I feel like this is looks like America. And I explained to him, I got strong bones. And, oh no, sir, well, we can get it. Well, they didn't get it. They ended up breaking it off, so it's flush with the gum, and I'm in there. My wife was there holding my feet because the medicine's wearing off, and it wasn't even that numb. And I couldn't take no more. I'm like, no, look. And it was such a bad experience that when I got over here to America, when I went to the oral surgeon, I told him I was willing to pay the extra. It was $500 or $600 for them, the anesthesiologist, to put me under. And the lady at the desk talked me out and says, no, this guy's good. Believe me, you don't need it. Forget paying that extra money. Just let him numb you up. He'll have it out. And he did. He had it out in like 2 seconds. After I numbed up and they gave me that gas about a half an hour later, man, it was out like that. But like I said, America, the biggest thing for me is, there's some shady stuff. Is the carpentry's going way downhill now. You just can't get guys. So, like I said, you just got to go a different avenue. I'm at that age now where you got to go find land now. Go find a piece of land. I can build a new house and put it for sale. We call them spec homes. But land, it's hard to find land now. Everybody's greedy. Back in the day, if I was working for a builder and he had 70 lots in there, I'd be like, hey, Mark, can I get 1 lot in here? And he'd be like, sure. And he would sell me a lot for the going rate. He didn't even mark it up for a good price. And nowadays, if you go into a sub like that and you ask the builder, they're just gonna look at you and tell you to get the hell off his property, or probably just laugh at you. You just got to reinvent yourself. I got a plan. I'm gonna start getting into the remodeling here soon, but not this year. Next year. The Philippines taught me this patience. I'm working for somebody. They're close by. They got lots of work. It's mindless. I just come in and I work and I go home. And it's okay. Am I making that big money? No, but it's okay. It keeps me busy. And maybe next year, we're still waiting. I want to go to, and I keep saying this, but we're going to do it. I want to go visit Vietnam here, hopefully in like 6 weeks. Go over there for 2 weeks. Bring my wife over. And then I'm going to see how everything goes. If everything gets cleared up. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I was planning on maybe going to the Philippines this winter, 2-3 months. Going to Bacolod, to a nicer area. Something that has the good store. Blog it. Show, day to day, what it's really like. Something that's more like America, where you can get the American products. They have stoplights in the city, It's more calmed down. Less less traffic. Little less air pollution. So, anyways, that's my story. Stay tuned for the next one, and I hope soon I'll have an update on that case. Like I said, it's the Philippines. It's slow. Every day I just pray, and like I said, I'm learning so much patience. Back in the day, I'd be bitching, God dang it, Dexel, call that attorney. But by living over there, I already know how it is. Everything just works so slow. Slower than shit. Like I said, if you get any slower over there, you're going to be backing up. That's mine and my wife's little saying now. So anyway, stay tuned for the next video. It's beautiful out today. Got a nice breeze. The air quality is excellent. It's quiet, and it's kind of funny. We got basketball courts here. We got a play thing here. We got a soccer field. There's a volleyball. We got tennis courts over here, and you don't see any kids out here playing anymore. Rare. You don't see any kids out playing anymore. Man, when I was growing up, we were outside. We had baseball games going, playing soccer. The swimming pool was into the BMX racing, skateboarding. We played all day long. We didn't come home until freaking 9 o'clock at night in the summertime. So anyways, I'm kind of rambling. Stay tuned for the next video.